Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll.
I had the little give out of the knee. And it happens.
Oh, the give out. I saw you do that the other day. I didn't like that.
Yeah, it happens. You right, Danton?
Yeah, just having a shake up. You're good. Go. You're good.
It happens sometimes once, twice, 3 times a day.
Jesus.
Sometimes it can happen twice in a week.
That's because you don't have stability in the ligaments around your knee, or what?
No, in the muscles around. To me, it appears the ligaments and tendons are fine.
So the muscles.
That was repaired. Yeah, you just got to continue building up the muscles. What they told me was you can build your muscles up all your life, but they can go to atrophy really, really quick. And basically, if you recall, I was bedridden for so long. You know, I had that air cast, or what? Not the air cast, but yeah, I guess it was a little bit of a soft cast for so long, and it just went to nothing. You know, so you slowly build it up. Remember when I told you that the lady told me that when you get back to 100%, where you can do everything you ever wanted, she goes, if you play tennis, if you play hoops, golf, whatever, it can be probably up to 2 years. I remember going 2 years. She's crazy. She's probably giving me that high end thing. Well, I'm 9 months in, and I can walk. I can't run. I can walk fast. I could probably jog if I just focus on the jogging, like really, really like trotting actually. But if you were telling me this place is on fire, and like now I'm in a panic grabbing stuff, I'd probably trip and fall. Yeah. So anyway, these stairs, I just have to always hold on to the rail and go slow, and I think I was just going a little fast. So yeah, that's my story, man. But anyway, let's get to it. Our guest today is going to join us early here on the show. This was the time he was available, and he's got a huge fight coming up against Rafael Assunção at UFC 226. That takes place on July 7th. It's UFC 6, the biggest card of the year. It basically culminates International Fight Week, which has the Hall of Fame. It has pool parties, pre-parties, press conferences, tough finale, and then and a world title fight before the actual main event with Miocic and Cormier. And so this card is just stacked deep. Now, we've been talking about how fun bantamweights have been throughout the summer. Dodson, Moraes, a few of those guys sticking their hands up, you know, as front runners. Well, one guy that's been holding a spot is Rafael Assunção, and Rob Font could take it all from him if he gets that win on July 7th. He joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Rob Font? How you doing?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Good, my man. I miss seeing you at the Dana White Contender Series. I know you're in camp and you're back east, but last year it seemed like I was running into you every week over there.
I know. My man Gregor Bellows out there right now with my coach Tyson, and I wanted to go. I actually really thought about going, but it was just too close. But you know, keep an eye out for Gregor Bellows, man. He's gonna kill it.
All right, cool. So you got Assunção, and you heard everything I said. You know, Assunção's got a power play card, an ace up the sleeve, whatever you want to call it, right? He's got a couple of them, actually. He's 1-1 against the champ, TJ Dillashaw. A lot of people forget about that first loss he gave him years ago. So he can play the trilogy card if he were to make himself get to the forefront, you know, of that huge group that trails Dillashaw and Garbrandt. And I'm including yourself, Assunção, Dodson, Moraes, everybody that's gotten a win, even Cruz when he comes back. You know, that division is pretty thick. And he's got that card to play, and he's also got the card to play where he beat Moraes. And Moraes is kind of the guy that's been shining the brightest because of that win over Rivera. It's the most recent. Us MMA fans and media, we think about the most recent. Rob Font, you can steal all that shine by taking those cards from Assunção and taking Moraes' shine. I mean, you do know everything that's at play here other than just you got to beat Assunção, right? Do you follow it as fully as we do, or are you more focused on just Assunção?
No, obviously I thought about it. You know, like I said, everybody believes he should be fighting for the belt right now. So obviously, if I beat the guy that everybody believes should be fighting for the belt, I want that title shot. I feel like I have a strong case if I beat Assunção over Moraes because obviously he lost to Assunção. So it's up there, man. It's a big fight. I couldn't believe he took it. Not saying that he's like scared of me or anything like that, but it was just like he wasn't even my radar. I always thought he would try to like wait for a title shot or whatever. But obviously he probably has kids to feed and all that, so he needs that money. So I was like, all right, perfect, let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're able to take a step back and think about all that. There's a lot of fighters that have like this tunnel vision, you know what I mean? And I respect that. You know, they just want to concentrate on the fight beforehand and then think about the rest. But I like fighters that can take a step back and see the whole landscape, study it, and just know, you know what I mean? Because fight week is very important. Fight week, you know, there's a lot of microphones in your face, pre and post fight. You know what I mean? It's like you can really dictate your career. So I'm glad you're thinking that way, Rob Font.
Yeah, no, it kind of like we thought like, you know, with that Rivera loss, it kind of helped us a lot. Obviously, we need TJ to win, and so if there's no chance of that Cody Garbrandt and TJ trilogy going down, then
yes.
like I said, I feel like I have a strong case over Mariah. But if, like I said, if it comes down to it, man, if let's just say TJ goes fight Dotson, like that Mariah fight's on the table too, we could do an interim title type thing or something, or main event. Like there's a lot of options, but I got to go out there and handle business.
There sure is. Yeah, and you do. And you're going to, either way, you're going to go out there and you're going to fight to the best of your ability. It's the ones that I think are able to compartmentalize, keep your focus on your opponent, but think about everything else so you can get the fans and the media, you know what I mean? Because we write these storylines, you know what I mean? And they're hot. They're hot off the press during fight week, during the fight on social media, and then post-fight. Oh, my God, that's when things blow up, you know? And I think that's when the matchmakers and the president are paying attention. All right, this is our guest right here, Rob Font, UFC bantamweight, fighting Rafael Assunção at UFC 226 on July 7th at UFC 226, which happens to culminate International Fight Week. I'm really, really starting to get pumped up here. This is what I needed, because on Monday I came in, I'm like, I'm still not there yet, but I wanted to turn the page on Fight Week. I wanted to start turning it a little bit early, and I'm starting to do it here with this interview. All right, Goes, what do you have for Rob Font?
Look at Rob Font firing you up. Huh?
Yeah, he's firing me up.
I like it. Rob, anybody who follows you knows that you're either training for a fight or you're helping your teammates train for a fight. It seems like you're constantly in the gym. Have you had much of a break? And when you do have these breaks, what is it that you have to attend to? What do you do?
You know what? I'm always in camp, bro. It's you know, obviously I feel like I'm gonna take advantage of you know, being healthy and you know, having a good squad behind me, and like I have a lot of teammates that are, you know, coming up, especially on the local scene right now in the Northeast. We have a lot of guys fighting. You know, shout out to Cooley, he's fighting. Randy Cost, there's a lot of guys fighting. So I'm always helping guys out, mainly because they would do whatever to help me out. So it's hard to kind of go fight and then go on vacation, you know, because these guys will literally drive or fly or do whatever they can to make sure they're helping me out. So I'm always in camp pretty much. And like I said, I feel like you know, coming off that Thomas Almeida fight, I just needed to ride that momentum, get better, stay in the gym, and you know, stay busy. But I definitely need a vacation, man. I'm thinking that obviously everything goes smooth, go out there, handle business, and going out somewhere. I'm thinking like maybe GR or somewhere, Europe, something. I got to get out there.
I like it. Now, talk a little bit about the last fight. A lot of people say you turned a corner in that fight, and I know after a fight you kind of have a sit down with your coaches and you talk about how the fight went. Can you talk about that conversation and how you felt like maybe you've grown from that, and maybe some of the input that your coaches have given you from that?
You know, it's funny. I actually had my coach Tyson. We had a sit down and had a first round intervention. You know, I always kind of do a little bit too much and get out of character in the first round. I either go too big with certain punches or I look for stupid shots, like in that Pedro Munoz fight. So, you know, with that being said, I think you know, we just want to get sharp and get, you know, in that zone, so to say, faster in the first round. And I think everything, because like I said, I have a lot of guys that, you know, saying, blowing smoke up my ass, saying, you look this, you look that, and like Tyson's the first one, like, yeah, but this happened in the first round, and that could have easily went bad. So, you know, with that being said, we just got to tighten up the first round and get, you know, stay focused for the whole 15 minutes and handle business. But I think it went smooth. Once I calmed down and stopped trying to hit him and trying to hurt him and hit him with big shots, I just let my right hand touch him, and obviously you saw what happened.
Rob, we're all human, and we've all been through these type of things in our lives. When it comes to fighters, how difficult is it to kind of take your foot off the gas and allow somebody to drive and give constructive criticism and be able to take that input? I know when you're young, it's a little difficult to do. Do you remember when you were able to finally absorb some of that?
Yeah, it it was like I said, my coach Tyson Chartier, you know, I let him do everything from the game plan to the sparring partners to whatever. Like he does it all. Like even setting up this interview, like you know, like everything. Like he does it all for me. So you know, I just show up, I train, I get told what to do. Like I don't even know when my fight is tomorrow, but Tyson will, and it's just like I just let him take care of everything, and I learned that I do better when I leave my opinion out of it, you know?
You know, another thing I was realizing was you basically, all of your wins since 2014, early 2014, so we're riding about 4.5 years now, have all been finishes. That was the last time you won via decision. And I know in between then, you know, you've lost, but still, when you are on, they're all statement wins. That's what I like. You know, I always call the finish more of a statement win. I don't count it as 2 wins. That'd be ridiculous. But a win's important. But when you're trying to outshine others, you know what I mean? And maybe even compete for these bonuses and highlight time, you know what I mean? It's those statement wins that get the job done. And that's what you've been providing.
Yes, sir. You know, like you said, if I'm out there and I'm doing it, I'm doing a finish, man. I'm a finisher at heart. Like, and I think I finished a lot more because I wasn't finishing earlier when I first started. It was a lot of decisions, and it was like, listen, like you know, like I said, we sat down with Tyson and my coaches and all that, and they were like, hey, what do we got to do to get the UFC? And it was like simple, you got to start finishing fights, and from there it was like we're always looking for the finish, either submission, knockout, whatever, but we're always pushing for submission, and you know. But with that being said, with this fight right here, Santos is such a veteran. He probably has so many like little tricks. I got to be cool with just getting a W, just getting my hand raised. You know, like if I have to jab this guy's face for 15 minutes, I got to be cool with that. You know, I think I'm ready for that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Sun Tzu's no joke. He's a great fighter, and that's why this is such a great matchup. You know, he brings a lot to the table. I'm very proud of him as well. I followed him since WEC, and he was the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, the guy that you did not want to go to the ground with. And all of a sudden, he started showing some hands and some head movement, you know what I mean? And he developed quite a game, and that's why he was able to win some of them tough fights. He's just kind of had a little bit of the injury bug, but now he's healthy and ready to go. But, man, the beautiful thing about this division, and a lot of divisions, but you know, this division's kind of fresh. It's got 2 guys at the top that despise each other, and for many years, you know, Cruz, same thing. He's pretty witty. But, you know, now we got all these other all these other guys that are trailing those guys, you know, just really making it exciting. But what I was about to say was the physicality of it all is that you guys can take the fight everywhere, and you usually do. I mean, just your finishes alone, you know, the ones I talked about, Dar's choke, guillotine choke. One of the sequences was just a 1-punch KO. You also had one that started with a knee. You also had one that started with a head kick. You know what I mean? So you're not out there just running the ball and passing the ball. You got trick plays up your sleeve. I'm using a football analogy there.
Don't even give him an opportunity to bring up the Patriots. Pick a different sport.
I'm ready, baby.
Yeah.
See?
And Rob, get this too. Another thing, we had the guys from the UFC PI, and they were kind of giving us some stats and some analytics. Basically, knockouts really stick out in the bantamweight division. You guys have had more knockouts than the featherweights as of their statistical data, which, you know, they've been around for about 18 months, the UFC PI, and so they analyzed a lot of fights. So, but something about in your weight class, you guys are cracking just a little bit harder than the featherweights. Other than that, basically, the heavier, the more knockouts there were. Except for your division, your division kind of stood out. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that, but so we have some heavy hitters in our division. You know, you have Cody, you have myself, you have Lineker. So, like I said, we have some heavy hitters, you know, and I'm proud to be part of that.
Everything cool in the back?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
But yeah, we have some heavy hitters.
All right, cool. All right. Well, listen, we've taken up enough of your time. I know these workouts are really important. You're about to turn the corner here and start worrying more about the weight cut and then doing your thing. But I hope you have a safe camp, whatever's left. You know, safe travels to Las Vegas, and I guess we'll be seeing you in about 10 days, sir.
Yeah, my man. If anything, like I said, if you want me to come to the studio, I wouldn't mind. Let me know. Let's set that up.
Let's do that. Yeah, I'll make a run at that. Thank you for offering, and it'd be great to see you. And Again, Rob, safe travels to Vegas. We'll see you pretty soon, all right, bud?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, take care. Big shout out to Ed Cap for lining that one up. Probably if you told me right now, hey, give me the top 10 PR, I think Ed, I'm kind of showing you my hand right now, but I think I would have him at the top.
Well, Ed beats us to the punch. That's what I like.
And he also gives you, he doesn't just go, you want Rob Vaughn on the show? He actually gives you a pitch. And so therefore, if you were on the fence, I wouldn't turn Rob down. But if you were on the fence, like, well, we just had him, you know, he'll give you reasons. Well, that was 3 weeks ago, and since then, this happened, and you read it, and you're like, yeah, I mean, he gets you into it. But you know what, guys? I think I turned the corner. It's Fight Week usually says, we usually start saying that to each other, like, on either Sunday during the countdown shows, or that first embedded, or just officially Monday when we step foot in here to the studio, and it's that week. But Rob Font got me into it, man. I'm really, really starting to get excited. I want to crank out some videos with you guys and start looking at what the sharps are looking at in terms of, you know, parlay talk and all that. So thank you, Rob Font, for doing that.
I'm not there just yet.
Not yet?
No, because tonight is Dana White's Contender Series. So I got to get that out of my system. I think Bellator on Friday. Once that's done, I think that's when I flip it.
No, because Tavares and Chiesa will be here on Friday. And if they can't put you over, well, you don't have a soul. Because Tavares is headlining the finale. Chiesa's got the big fight with Pettis. I mean, that's been like a 6-month camp. They were supposed to fight in April. Yeah, he took some time off. But for the most part, that guy wants to fight. He might get in a fight at the Dana White Contender Series.
It's our dad's birthday.
And Julian Marquez, you see how intense he was? He's like, man, I want to fight. He goes, you know, I've been in camp. So, yeah, we'll have to tone it down, but I'm already starting to just get that feeling, like, because we're going to see
the tough World Cup.
Between the tough finale and the other one, we're going to see over about 25 fights.
I need to be charmed. I need to be taken out. I'm not as slutty as you. I don't just. You got to take me out on a few dates because you got World Cup. They're trying to get my attention. Bellator's trying to get my attention. PFL had it for a little bit. Dana White Contender Series. I'm getting there, George. I'm telling you, I'll come around. But right now,
well, there's gonna be.
I'm looking at some of that stuff.
There's gonna be PFL. Let me see. Sorry, there's gonna be. Well, there is, but there's gonna be 4th of July and World Cup. You may not turn the page till actual fight day.
No, that week. But, but one of the big problems is this. Okay, who's the headliner of the big weekend?
Miocic and Cormier.
Okay, we know that. Hardcores know that. If you go on social media, you see Daniel Cormier. He's out there. However, his rival right now is John Jones.
Right.
I would have liked yesterday, in the midst of all that beef, for Stipe Miocic to just kind of put something out and go, don't forget about me, player. We got some business to handle, too. I want them to pull me in.
That's a great point. I think Goes brings up good points as far as so much is going on. It's kind of hard not to be wired that way. But I really appreciate George's energy because I feel like George's energy is where we should be. You know what I'm saying? It's where we should be. But kind of bringing it into more of a micro criticism since Goes went down that path as far as the Cormier Stipe beef that is headlining what we're talking about, right? I don't feel it either, man, and it's tough, and I don't want to harp on the criticisms the media gives Stipe. Oh, he says the same things, but it's true, and it's so it's tough. I want to be a bigger fan, and I am a big fan of Stipe, but I want his fan base to swell, I guess is what I should say. I want, he deserves it. He's got a great story, and again, like what Go said, he's not doing anything to really make it big. Like it feels like these guys, like from the deal getting shook upon, it just felt like a handshake. Like, yeah, that's going to make some money. All right, man, I'll see you then. I'll see you at fight night, and that's what it's kind of felt like, guys. Right?
So I know, and let me ask you this. He probably still says more than Fedor, but why did people get into Fedor and not Miocic? Miocic can communicate in English. Still says his fair share of, I'm going to knock him out or whatever, whereas Fedor wouldn't really say that. It's like whatever was in God's hands. But yet, the mystique, the fear, the excitement of a Fedor fight is really hard and has been hard to duplicate since those days. I think Lesnar brought a legion of fans that were into that, Randy Couture, the 43-year-old, who still had some gas left in the tank. I mean, he had a great night out in Columbus when he took down Tim Sylvia. And then Cain Velasquez, I mean, yeah, that pulled in the Latino crowd, but God, that could have been such a better run. But he's had injury. He lost to JDS. Verdum was charming and happy-go-lucky, but I don't know that there was ever like that fear, you know, because from Muhammad Ali to Larry Holmes to Mike Tyson to Lennox Lewis, like it just seemed like something was that. Now, I'll give you an example. Anthony Joshua, of course, he strikes fear in you in that he's like 6'6", an Olympic champ, undefeated. But he doesn't really like, woo, you know, he's not like, oh my God, here he comes. You know where you go, I wouldn't want to see him in a dark alley. I wouldn't mind seeing him in a dark alley. I think I could actually talk him into a pint. You know what I mean? Whereas Tyson, I wouldn't want to see him in an alley. I wouldn't want to see a lot of. In fact, Lennox Lewis, I wouldn't mind seeing him in an alley either. A few of those other guys, though, you're like, I'm going that way. I just don't know what mood he or she might be in, and I want none of that.
You're right. Tyson was like that.
Miocic seems nice. Fedor seems nice, but yet Fedor still had an aura. Miocic hasn't been able to reach it, and he could have because he had the most incredible run of fights where he was just KOing legends and former champs. But he's just nice and just wants to go back and hug his kid or his wife or have pizza and beer. And
he's nice if
I want to hear other stuff. I just for those 15 minutes or seconds, lie to me. You know what I mean?
He's only nice if you pick him. If you pick against him, I think he doesn't like you, because that's the one thing that he does commit to. If he commits to anything outside of the vanilla, it's, or even if he's tying in his quote unquote vanilla into it. It's I just want to. You know, I want to prove people wrong and pick against me. Or I don't care what people think, but I want to prove people wrong who pick against me. And I'm like, that kind of contradicts each other. Anyways, neither here nor there. But then it's like, okay, well, clearly you want people to pick you, and clearly you don't like it when people pick against you. Let's give them a reason to pick you. And I think knocking out and being the baddest dude in the world in a firefighter should be enough. I'm glad that people like Modelo are doing really good advertising campaigns. I think that's a real positive. Maybe some of the criticism, what I'm saying, could be lent to the UFC. I'm definitely not trying to come at the heavyweight champ, believe you me. But yeah, I just really would like to see that one way or another marketed or embraced.
I'll come at him. Okay. I'll come at him in this instance. About 18 months ago, he wasn't fighting because he had a holdout. That means he thought he was worth a certain amount of money, and the UFC was going, no. Eventually, they did figure it out. I think it was right before the Ngannou fight.
Yeah.
So what do I always say? I don't care if you come in here with a gi and a band with two Japanese people next to you with the deep bow and talking about respect and martial. I don't care, man, because I've seen it enough. At some point in time, they are going to realize, hold on a second, you mean they're actually making that much money off it? You see what I'm saying? So you might as well grasp that now. Start getting the books and going, prize fighting. What did Muhammad Ali say? What did Ric Flair say? What's the Conor McGregor playbook? And start reading into it. Fire that guy and get this guy who's got more experience as a manager, or fire that guy and get this guy as an attorney or whatever, and figure it out. Don't react so late that you go, man, I need to catch up and make that money up, because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone's making that money, and so you might as well go out there and get yours. Now, do it to the point. Don't do it to the point where it's like where you're holding up the sport entirely over ridiculous demands. You know what I mean? Right. So I would come at him in that regard. That's all tied into how you market yourself. And so let me give you an example. Canelo Alvarez is a pretty nice guy, but there's one thing that I really like about his post-fight. He always says it. It's kind of a repeat now. He's kind of has to really recycle some new shit in there. But they'll always go, so what do you think of this guy? You know, he wants to fight you. And he'll say, hey, I'm Mexican, man. I get down. And if he wants to do it, I'll put the gloves back on right now. And what does the crowd always go? Ooh, whoa. And then the tweets come in. Right, it's a simple line. He delivers it. And he checks the guy, and then the other guy's just standing there in the suit. He knows it's not really going to go down. If he did, he'd rather not be in the suit. Yeah. But it's just enough to just kind of get everyone off their back, and then he goes back to being a nice guy, and that's that.
I think the heavyweight champion of the UFC drops the ball in the sense that stop calling yourself the heavyweight champion of the UFC and start calling yourself the baddest man on the planet.
For a while he was. He was challenging Joshua.
Let boxing know who you are as well. Mm-hmm. So go through the heavyweight division, but also say, if Deontay Wilder wants some, or Joshua, let's do that too.
I'll give him credit. He did. It was around the McGregor time when everyone was picking fights. Somebody wanted.
It was like soft.
Yeah, it was.
Like really say it. Be mean. Even for just those 5-10 seconds. That might be enough for ESPN to go, hey, instead of 5 minutes, let's give him 10. Let's really see what this dude's all about.
I wonder if people saw through that too, because you can see through it when it's not in their nature, and which I totally get. And I'm not saying all fighters should go out and do that, But I wonder if people saw through that, and then also we're also questioning. Maybe they just were upset. We're just like, hey, why can't you do like 1% of that over in MMA? Like we've been asking for this the whole time. And you do it over to boxing. Come on, man. There could have been a little bit of that too. Not saying that's my stance, but it kind of validates kind of things that George along the lines of George was saying. I'm just glad Stipe's not asking me for advice, because I'd be like, hey man, we need to do the Stone Cold Stipe gimmick. You're going out there with a fire hose full of beer. You're taking a hit off it before we go to the check-in station. All right, we're giving a wink to your sponsors, and we're getting out there.
Well, if somebody isn't good at talking, I still think there's a lot to be said in pictures and video, right? And video requires talking, but I think you can rehearse. Take 2, take 57. You know what I mean? And figure it out before you post it. But I've seen some pictures of Conor where he's just basically like in front of there's a pile of money in front of him. That's why magazine shoots do that. There's a pile of money in front of him. He's got a slick suit, or he's getting ready to. He's got his foot on the step of a jet, what looks to be a private jet, or maybe leaning on a fast car. You know what I mean? And the caption can say it all for you. These are the perks of the baddest man on the planet. It's, something like that, without even saying anything. Like, I just think they need to get out there a little bit more. This ties into 250 pay-per-views for Chicago. I mean, and here's another thing, man, that fucking grinds my gears. And I know that a lot of people are gonna hate me for this one. It's embedded family time. I don't like seeing it, man. I maybe on Countdown, because I know the Countdown was filmed about a month before. And so, yeah, you want to go, this is my family, this is my wife, and this is my ranch, or my farm, or my big house, or whatever. I get all that, but on fight week, like, no, man, I want to see a fucking monster, a savage, you know what I mean, prepping for battle. Yeah. And I would almost, if I was Dana White, I'd tell the embedded guys, no, don't use that part. Hit mitts, face-offs, anything, man, but I don't want to see that. I don't know.
It's not directed towards you. It's not directed towards him or me. We don't have kids. It's directed towards family guys, right? Oh, man, okay, yeah, I got kids.
Yeah.
Like, but it's directed towards women, right? Oh, he's a softie, too. Look at him play with the kids.
Directed critics of the sport.
What about when we see that type of stuff on the screen? Here in the sportsbook, when it is full, nobody goes, oh, right? But when they are showing pushing and you hear people going, oh, shit, when's that again? When's that going down? And even the guys will come over from the sportsbook and go, when's that fight? Who are these guys? You know what I mean? They want to see the drama. The drama sells.
Yeah.
We should take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. Let's talk a little bit about Bellator. They have a big fight card that's coming up in San Jose, and it's where they're going to debut along with their new distribution partners. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And how about the face-off? You got a few minutes while we take this break. Go to the front page of MMA Junkie and check out Vanderlei and Rampage. I really thought, when Vanderlei brought out the finger, that Rampage could either slap the hand, slap him, or give him a push. I got to give it up for Rampage for staying composed. In a way, maybe that was the G move. I don't know, but wow, dude, when Silva did that, there's a lot of people that don't like that, and it's psychology.
I like that you said that. We're going to talk
psychology about that. Things that are brought up from when you were a kid. I know Conor hates it. If you ever want to get under Conor McGregor's skin, he does not like it when someone points his finger. That's something I've caught on too, but not many people do it. Anyway, we'll be right back.
kicked off the set of The Fast and the Furious for being too loud and too good-looking. Once again, here's gorgeous George and Goes.
Hear every moment from the World Cup on Sirius XM. Group F concludes play tomorrow when Mexico meets Sweden. And Fox Sports Channel 83. Let me see. This wasn't written right. Mexico meets Sweden on Fox Sports Channel 83. And defending champion Germany could bow out if they stumble against South Korea on FSC 157. So again, Mexico and Sweden on 83. Germany and South Korea on 157. Coverage for both matches begins tomorrow in the morning at 10 Eastern, followed by instant reaction and analysis on SiriusXM FC 157. Viva Mexico. Danny wrote that in for me.
Okay.
All right.
Nice.
All right. So we might have a surprise in-studio guest, too. Yeah. We're seeing. I think
my interest.
Goes is either locking that down or it's just not going to happen. I don't know. We'll see. You're more than invited to call in at any point, audience. 866-522-2846. Discuss anything you want, including tonight's Dana White Contender Series. There's another Shevchenko in play here. Antonina Shevchenko will be fighting tonight. That's the older sister of Valentina Shevchenko, the UFC flyweight, and at one time, UFC bantamweight contender. They're both former Muay Thai champions. Good? No? Damn. All right. Canceled.
Just swing and a miss.
Shit. He's going on later one. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we tried. There goes the surprise guest that we were going to have. But as a bonus, we get John Morgan. He's ready to go out in New York. What's up, John? How you doing?
You could have just lined me up as a surprise guest. I feel like I didn't get props there. Oh, sorry. Now you don't get what you really want.
Should have rolled him as the White Shadow.
It's like the Price is Right. No. I don't want that showcase. Give me the other showcase. No, but I had already prefaced it by saying in studio, so everybody would have been on to me.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so John Morgan, you flew out last night for Viacom's announcement. Bellator signed a 9-figure multi-year distribution deal with. Are we going to call him DAZN, or just DAZN?
DAZN is how you pronounce it. DAZN. We have learned. I was not familiar with it, but I have been educated. It is DAZN, and yeah, man, huge announcement. You know, it's funny. You touched on the language there that I thought was surprising. For them to go out and say, 9-figure deal. I mean, that's a massive deal. Any way you cut it up, even if you're talking about a 1 in that first position, that's still a lot of zeros after it. So a big moment. It looks like a nice influx of cash for Bellator. It's mentioned multiple times that this will allow them to go chase after some more free agents to continue to grow the roster. I mean, that was brought up by multiple people on multiple occasions. So obviously they're going to use that money for that. But so pretty cool stuff. And this is mainly the U.S. audience for now. This is a growing product, the Zone is, and but it also means too. No more tape delay, fellas. We get everything live, man. It's whether we're East Coast, West Coast, whether they're broadcasting from over in Europe, we're going to get the fights live. And so some positives all the way around, and then that doesn't even get into all the confirming the big fights and all that stuff they got going on.
All right. So first of all, with DAZN, we have to pay for it.
We do have to pay for it. We don't know what it's going to be yet, unfortunately. I asked specifically, how much the thing was going to cost. It's another over-the-top service. It's digital streaming. There is going to be a subscription fee associated with it. Now, my understanding is there's going to be a free month to kick it off. So the September 29th event in San Jose, people are going to be able to sign up and get that one for free. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there is going to be a price associated with it. I did ask the gentleman in charge of DAZN, how much is it going to cost. He said, listen, we're going to hold that for now. We're not going to release that for now. But he said, please know that we're in the business of making cost efficient, affordable entertainment value. So. Tough to figure a guess on exactly what it's going to cost us yet.
I will give it up for ESPN Plus. They came in at a number that just it doesn't turn you off. You can reason it and say, well, all right, well, I'm not going to have my cup of coffee that day, or 2 cups of coffee. I know that a lot of people don't pay that much for coffee, but $5 here at Mandalay Bay, we get waxed. I'll admit it. But anyway, I hope it's something that's easily digestible, because after what you pay out for the UFC, Bellator. That's going to have to be a decision they make, but I hope they really, really study, because you don't want it to be a turnoff for people.
No, I agree, and another big part of their portfolio is Matchroom Boxing, which is Eddie Hearns. They're going to have a ton of boxing events as well. And they want that to be, as high quality as possible. But you're right. I was just sitting here talking with some people, and it's interesting. Everybody is kind of cutting the cord and going to direct, streamline, over the top service. But we're getting to a point now where there's so much a la carte items you got to have. I mean, you got to have Fight Pass, you got to have ESPN Plus. Now you got to have the Zone. Maybe you want your WWE Network as well. I mean, the costs do start adding up. So I'm a little interested to see what price point they set it at as well. You're right. I think ESPN Plus, they nailed it with $5. I mean, $5 is nothing. So I'll be interested to see where they come in here at the Zone.
John, when we have our Fight Pass subscription, not only do we get the live streaming of events, but you can go back and look at some of the archive stuff like that. This is only going to be streaming the fights, or will there be other options of going back and seeing older cards or anything like that?
Yeah, my understanding is it's just live streaming. They're not going to own the libraries. I probably should have clarified that, to be honest with you. I did not see libraries listed anywhere, and they're listed as a live streaming service. So I'll double check on that and clarify. But my understanding is, live events and event replays, perhaps in the media, but not, searchable archives of like every Bellator fight ever or something along those lines. More of just replaying the events that they feature.
Well, that would make more sense to get a smaller price line, don't you guys think?
Yeah,
I think so too. I'd vote for that. Hey, John, I got a question. I'm reading here on our Junkie article as far as DAZN, or as I like to pronounce D-Asian. It says they're going to have seven exclusive events per year, and as well as another 15 for the simulcast on the Paramount Network. So that, to me, as simple math, brings that to 22 events per year involving DAZN. How much are we currently at with Bellator? Do you know off the top of your head, or do they even have a steady metric for how many events they're at per year?
They don't. They've been right around that number, so they don't have anything where they've been contracted. And it's funny because, the September 29th event, it will be a numbered event. Like, the numbers are just going to stay the same with Bellator, but they weren't even sure exactly what number it was going to be yet. So they're kind of shifting some things around and moving things around. But you're right. You're doing the math right. 22 events a year, 7 that will be exclusive to DAZN, so you'll have to, or D-Asian if you like. You got to have a subscription to that. Otherwise, the 15 will basically be simulcast, so those aren't exclusive. So if you have DAZN, you can watch those other 15. You don't need to have a TV. You don't need to have Paramount, but you can have Paramount and watch it there. And basically what I was told there, that the advantage would be that if you do have DAZN, you can watch those fights live, whereas Paramount may still go ahead and tape delay. They may still tape delay the West Coast. They may still tape delay the European events and those sort of things. But if you have the service, you can watch it all live.
We have DirecTV, so we can still watch Paramount on the West Coast time zone. So now the question will be: are they going to be able to use some of this capital, some of this money, to fatten up the roster so that if I can't miss whatever's in Europe or elsewhere, that will drive me to DAZN, And I'm a hardcore thinking this, so they have to really, really play these pieces very, very carefully. I don't mind supporting organizations. I really don't. I just don't want to. They have to just. It has to make sense at some point. You know what I mean? And we pay a lot.
Listen. I mean, the first one they're coming out of the gate with, George, I think fits that to a T, right?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? If you think I've got to order this because there's no way I'm going to miss Mousasi and Roy. There's no way I'm going to miss Rampage and Vanderlei running it back. There's no way I'm going to miss the start of the welterweight Grand Prix. Plus, this is in San Jose, so you're going to get some of those Bay Area guys in there. Maybe a Pico ends up on there or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, this card fits that definition, right? I mean, if they're going to charge me $5 to see this card, I got no problem. But you're right. If it just becomes, a lower level, and no disrespect, but obviously, Bellator has A, B, C type events or whatever. If it's just a home for those C type events, there's no way this is going to work. But it did sound like they realized, no, this is going to be a home for essentially what would be pay-per-view quality-esque cards that we're going to put on the streaming service.
John, you were out there. You saw Vanderlei and Rampage face-to-face. I'm sure that was a pretty cool moment for you. I wasn't surprised that they said heavyweight, but I was surprised that, and maybe you can clarify this, is there a cap, though? Like how big can Rampage be in this fight?
No, it's funny because, once the reports came out that the fight was happening, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. All right, I'm down for that. This is MMA history. Let's run it back. And then started thinking about it. I was like, wait a minute. is Rampage going to get down to 205? Because he doesn't look like he wants to get down to. And today they confirmed, yes, it's going to be at heavyweight. That was a little bit surprising. Yeah, you know, got a chance to see both guys today. Stood next to them both. You know, Vanderlei is heavier than he has been in the past, but he's still much smaller than Rampage, who's, you know, a big guy right now walking around. I think he's got to be over the limit, but no, just straight up heavyweight rules, 266, no title on the line, and I'm going to be interested to see how much Vanderlei comes in at, because, man, you know, he doesn't want to be dwarfed in there, but at the same time, you know, you'd probably do yourself good by keeping yourself a little bit smaller, a little bit faster, a little bit more agile. But man, yeah, it's crazy this is going to be a heavyweight fight.
You know what's funny is I'm with you. I looked at it the same way, but then I sat back and I thought, this is the same Vanderlei that didn't back down from Mirko Cro Cop, Mark Hunt.
Fujita.
I mean, he's fought a lot of big
Fought a lot
guys
of
too.
heavyweights.
And in those fights, you're right. He did he put a little bit more mass, but he did like to be the quicker guy. So I don't know just how big Vanderlei will get for this.
It's cool, man. It's funny, you know, when they first started talking about this fight and social media is leaking out, and I guess Vanderlei was the first one to kind of announce it. It was like, all right. I mean, we've seen him 3 times, and I really, like, super pumped up. But, yeah, seen them together today, and you can tell there's still no love lost between those guys. Vanderlei got right up in Rampage's face and started talking again. And, yeah, man, these are 2 different guys, and it's a different era and all that. But it's still MMA royalty, man. It's still 2 legends getting in there. And, there's not any other fights I'd rather see them fight. You know, there's no other matchups where I'm like, oh, man, are we going to lose, that fight because we're putting this one together? Like, no, we're not. So I think it's kind of fun, man. But Bellator has a great way of kind of taking all these odds and ends and putting them together and making them something pretty special. You know, you get that main event with Gegard and Roy, man, two of the best fighters on the planet, and then you get a little bit of flavor with the 4th fight between those 2, and then again we know the welterweight tournament's happening as well. So good stuff, man. Good. A lot of nice bits and pieces there.
What did you think when Vanderlei started pointing and wagging that finger? Did you think things were going to maybe escalate a little bit? I was expecting to at least see a shove, and I give it up for Rampage staying composed, but something about that finger up close and someone, when you do that to a gangster, man, things can, they can go in another direction.
I definitely thought that, and I think I wasn't alone. I mean, if you go watch that video clip, Scott Coker turns him face forward pretty quick. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he wants to sit there and let it play out too long. You know, he starts putting the finger in the face, and I think Coker thought the same thing. It's like, all right, guys, face forward, face forward. So yeah, it was interesting, and I kind of, after that they broke off and did scrums as well, and I was kind of a little bit worried about where everybody was placed in the ballroom. Luckily, they moved them far away from each other. There was definitely some tension. I mean, I think both those guys are professionals, and they want to get paid for their efforts, but I still don't think they like each other too much.
Okay, we got to take a break, but I got to ask you one more quick question. In that 9-figure deal, did they specify, or do you think these numbers will come out? Because maybe in our sport there's certain things that stay private, but there's a lot of things that are public. You think this will be one of them, or we find out if it's 100 million, 200 million? And do you know, is it per year, or is it over the course of years, John? Yeah, that's over the lifetime of the deal. But you know what? I do think some of these numbers are going to get leaked out a little bit. Some of the other deals that DAZN has signed, the numbers have kind of leaked out a little bit. And I think they don't mind the numbers getting out because it makes them look like a solid player. I don't think Bellator really cares. I don't think they necessarily want that information to be made public. Why do they want their income and losses to be known? But DAZN, I think, is trying to show the world they're a big player, and I bet we do end up hearing some numbers. Great job out there, man. Safe travels back to Vegas.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, take care. All right, that's John Morgan, and we're going to take a break. It's our second break of the first hour. When we come back, we'll do some calls, and then the second hour is wide open. We can talk about DAZN. We can talk about Rampage and Vanderlei Part 4.
I need to talk about that. You made a good point that I want to co-sign on.
Oh, thank you. All right. And any of the latest news that's out there, including tonight, Dana White Contender Series. Will you be tuning in? If you haven't, I'm telling you, you're missing out. The one thing that you will enjoy about this is the production. It really moves quick. They promise you 5 fights in 2 hours, and sometimes they over-deliver. Sometimes you get it like in an hour and a half. People out there, and they're getting steamrolled, man. But John's right. Maybe we're just spoiled because we're in there. And maybe for everyone else, it's just another night of fights. But I'm telling you, it's intense. I can't wait. We'll be right back.
And they get paid to be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
If you play fantasy sports, SiriusXM has the channel just for you. Listen to Fantasy Sports Radio to hear expert advice from the top fantasy baseball and fantasy football analysts. Whether you need help setting your fantasy baseball lineup or you want to know who the breakout players in fantasy football will be this season, the place to be is Sirius 210, XM87, and streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. Let's talk to Marco in Waco, Texas. What's up, Marco? How you doing?
Marco from Waco, what pasa, dude?
Not much, man. How about you?
So, help me understand this new deal, man, because, you know, this is me on Bellator. I'm used to it being free, you know. The couple of times that they tried to go to pay-per-view, it kind of sort of, they fell on their faces. I'm not going to pay for a streaming service to watch some fights that, you know, I used to watch for free. I know that trying new things, and I understand it, man. We could. I'm actually excited for that welterweight Grand Prix, but that's all. Never heard of it before, and I just don't get it, man. Am I going to be able to see it on my Apple TV? You know, there's a lot of questions here.
You're right. So that card that they have in San Jose with the welterweight Grand Prix, the Vanderlei and Rampage fight, and the super fight with Musashi versus McDonald, I would pay for that. All right, I'd probably happily pay $29.99, we'll call it, or $30 if you want to round off, maybe even $40. I don't know. The option, of course, goes, and I always have, is for those big Bellator cards. Jason Ford he hosts these parties, so we could always go there. But
Top
that
class.
aside,
That's if we want to spoil ourselves.
the other ones that they have coming up, and I don't want to rant on them like I did yesterday a little bit, but those, you know, I think they're going to Italy, and they have something in Sioux Falls. I wouldn't pay $40, nor $30, nor $19, which I guess would be $20. So that's why they have to be really careful with this number they give. You know what I mean? Because some of those cards, even though they have a couple great fighters, I've conditioned my mind that I am just willing to miss. And you can just tell me about it. You can just tell me about it, how it was. Unless Dan Stubb tells you got to watch them, all right, then whatever. But if it's up to me, then I don't know. That I've done it with the UFC as well. And I wind up going to my buddy Justin's house. He's always cool. But, yeah. Let's see what they say first.
Have you ever tried Sling TV?
Yeah.
It's supposed to save you from paying the big cable bill. But before you know it, it adds up. You're getting a package here, a package there. That's what's going on. ESPN wants a piece. The UFC wants a piece of you. It's starting to be too much. You gotta make sure you're getting what you pay for.
I agree, and careful. I tried the Sling TV, but I accidentally signed up for Swing TV. Completely different service.
Oh,
yeah? All right. So Marco, the points you bring up are valid, and we'll see. To be fair, we got to see what that price will be.
Okay, guys. Peace out.
All right, see you, buddy. I forgot to ask him if he'll be cheering for Argentina or not. Argentina's going to kick off now against Nigeria. We're keeping an eye on that. We still got an hour to go here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Stay close, and we'll be right back.
I knew that I wouldn't. I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't. So good, so good. I got you. Wow, I feel nice.
Here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. That song was good. I like that one.
Do you feel good?
It's old school. Germany and Sweden, Nigeria and Argentina have just kicked off. Good luck to all the teams involved. I think the situation here is where Germany more than likely will move forward. I guess Sweden has an out. They got to handle business. But I think in all the scenarios, what's been pretty fun is there's still that long shot scenario where the big teams may not, qualify for the next round unless they at least wind up getting some sort of a draw.
Which would be insane because big teams already didn't qualify for the World Cup at all. Like, we're seeing a lot of new
like Holland
teams out there.
Italia.
Italy, U.S.
I don't know if the U.S. is a big team, though.
They're there every year.
They're a big CONCACAF team, but I think we've only made it to the quarterfinals once. But all right, I'll give them some love.
Ludwig Borga over here.
So what do you guys think about this Dozen? What is it?
All right, I want to talk about
Dozen?
Rampage.
DAsian?
What was it officially?
DAsian.
DAZN. DAZN is how John was saying it, yeah.
What do I
Final
think of
verdict
it?
on Dozen.
Look, man, if they're, as a fan, don't give me anything more than $6 a month. Okay? As an organization and a fan of Bellator, I guess, if you're going to get a lot of money to sign free agents, but free agents, real free agents, not guys that are at the end of their career, I'm tired of that. I don't want to see that no more. Give Michael Chandler someone to fight.
Okay,
give some of those top guys some good fighters.
I believe they have come forward with some free agents. I'd say Benson was past his prime. Lyoto is past his prime. Rampage Tail. But you got to give it up for Musasi.
Phil Davis.
You got to give it up for Bader. You got to give it up for Davis, and you got to give it up for Rory. So that's 4 strong names. You know what I mean? And
you do, but Davis and Bader already fought. Like they put themselves in a situation where there's not much you can do with some of the signings. Like, it was just because the guy was free and it was a big name. Let's bring him over. I want some fresh matchups. How many times can you see Pitbull Strauss? Right? Like, give them some, and you don't have to bring like top guys. Even if you sprinkle in a few guys that you've seen show up in PFL, just buy some time so that we're not seeing the same fights like back to back to back. That's what I want. A spread of some of those mid-tier guys and some real solid up-and-comers. I would be down with that. Like Yair, if they would have pulled off Yair, cool.
Yeah.
That would have been great, right? That opens up a lot of stuff. So if the deal brings in money so that they could do that, and on top of that gives them global exposure, because how many times have we gotten callers from people, I don't know how I can watch Bellator. Well, now you can, right? Then that's good for the organization. It grows. Pick off some of these free agents around the world, some of these Russians.
Yeah, I agree. In similar spirit to Goes, I don't think I'm not going to get hung up with the price point, because that's obviously where, in some shape or form, digital streaming is where everybody's going, and they have their own version of that. We're going to have to deal with it. But to show that it's not a money grab on both sides, A, what Goes said, I want to see that money translated to the fighters, but B, back to what Marco said, if they want to show that they're a real big player, right, by dumping this money and becoming a player into the, I hope they really thought it through so that they can become part of streaming services like Apple and so forth, because not only is that going to help their brand for people subscribing, but that's kind of the age when you can kind of group things together. I was great. I was blown away. I got a new TV and I'm like, what? I know you can go through Netflix through smart TVs, but I'm like, I can have my Fight Pass on through here and I can use my laptop for through something different now. This is awesome. Like little dumb things like that go a long way, and I think we're going to see how well prepared and we're going to see the intentions once the details come out, and that's going to tell us a lot.
Well, let me say this, guys. WWE, man, I still think back to them and what they did. What's their number? $14.99?
I'm not sure.
I don't even know if it's that.
Let's see here. Now you two got to talk while I look it up.
Well, I've been dying to talk about Rampage. Can we do it?
Yeah.
Brought up a point. He said Rampage Jackson didn't do anything during the stare down. Vanderlei put his finger up. We all know it's an aggressive move. I think Rampage reverse G'd him in not doing anything. Because I think that it's hard to say you could shake up Vanderlei Silva, but I bet you he was kind of tripping that he didn't take the bait.
I agree.
I thought it was a gangster move by Rampage not to do anything.
Yeah, but the more gangster move is to do something about it.
Not in this scenario.
Well, they're not selling pay-per-views, so you're right. Whether 2 people tune in or 2 million tune in, they get paid the same. But I think Rampage is one of those guys that no matter how old he is, I mean, he's a father now. One day he'll be a grandfather. I think he's just one of those guys that has that chip where you ain't going to punk me. You know what I mean? And not to say Vanderlei did, because he didn't touch him, but I don't know, maybe swat the hand, give a push. But I'm into what you're saying. Like, it is. I'm not saying it's not a G move. So
Vanderlei has 2 wins over Rampage. Rampage has the last one. In a way, he sent that message. Even though you have 2 over me, I got you last. And you're the guy that's itching to fight me, not the other way around. I think it's a gangster move.
Are you excited about the fight?
No.
No?
No. It's a way bigger. If it were at light heavyweight, yeah.
They should put a cap, though. I like 220,
Yeah.
225.
I would even say like 250.
That forces them to go out there and give us some sort of a camp.
Heavyweight opens the weirdness door, man, and some of those fights that Bellator put together already have a lot of that weirdness factor already. You know what I'm saying? And when you let someone like Rampage with the leeway of weight come in, yeah, I don't know. I completely side with you guys by saying I would be more interested if it was at 205.
You want to take these calls?
Yeah, let's do it.
Roll calls.
Who's been waiting the longest? Looks like it's Russ in Boston. What's up, Russ?
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, man.
You want to answer this question for us?
Pretty
How much
good.
is WWE Network?
$9.99.
Network? Like $9.99, yeah.
Oh, George already said it.
Wow, $9.99, guys, and they get all the pay-per-views, and their product is free on USA. And SmackDown's on what channel now? Fox Sports 1 or will be?
I don't know. What are they on now? They're on something different. They're always changing.
Why are we not talking more about this? The fact that maybe that's what's helping this upkick in WWE. Maybe people are migrating over from MMA over there because it's just easier to become a fan. You got 2 shows per week that are free that you can watch. And then you have the pay-per-views where they don't basically rake you over the coals. I mean, $9.99 and that's it. I mean, I don't know. Like pretty
begging your
economical
parents
to be
for a pay-per-view. Please order WrestleMania. It's like $50 back in the day, right? They don't have to do that.
And so I'm sure when they started off, they're like $9.89. Oh man, we have 500,000 subscribers. That's not that big of a number, but now it's slowly growing over 2 million at a steady $9.99. And they rolled the dice in another way. They got these huge TV deals. It took them a while. I'm sure they probably regretted some of the pay-per-views. I know the WrestleManias always do good. I don't know how good the other ones do, like SummerSlams and Survivor Series, if that's still around.
Rumble.
Right, but WrestleMania was always like a $1 million one. Do you have to pay extra for WrestleMania, or it's part of your $9.99?
No, everything's included. It was a weird decision. I remember when it happened to take WrestleMania and put it on the network because they were just coming off their biggest WrestleMania ever. That's like when the last one was John Cena versus The Rock, which was like numbers-wise their biggest WrestleMania ever. So that was very it seemed like it was a better idea to keep that separate, but they didn't do it. And yeah, I guess they're over 2 million, and they're not hurting for money. The stock is at an all-time high. It's like around $60 something. It was like 20 like a year ago. So there's a lot of money in WWE right now, and they're not going to be hurting for money for a long time.
Have you seen any interviews by Stephanie, Shane, or Vince explaining why they chose that number and them talking about that?
It started like 4 years ago. There probably was interviews at the time. I don't remember. But I guess they just wanted to be in like the same ballpark as like a Netflix as far as price goes. You don't want to be too much higher than it, and you didn't want to be too much lower than it. I think $9.99 is a fair number for an over-the-top network. $4.99 for ESPN Plus is just excellent. It's kind of one of those deals where, like John Morgan said, I mean, it's just $5. It's like the way John Morgan thinks of it, it's probably the price of a beer, right?
Pretty much. All right.
Yeah. Hey, I was calling in, man. I don't know if you guys have talked about this too much because it was just announced yesterday, but I know you were a huge fan of his for a long time with Rashad Evans finally hanging it up, man. I thought it was probably a few years overdue, but I'm glad he made the decision because that was a really, really scary knockout.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for the call, Russ. Let's talk about Rashad Evans and his retirement. He did announce that yesterday. He's a former winner of Tough Season 2. He's a former light heavyweight champion. He competed at heavyweight. He actually won the season as a heavyweight. A lot of people don't know that. He competed as a middleweight, competed as a light heavyweight.
Right, at the end.
Yeah. He's not the hillbilly heartthrob, was he?
I thought he was one.
Or was it the dude that was here in Vegas for a few years? He was a hillbilly something.
There's more than one. I know
okay.
that.
Well, Rashad Evans, look, man, it was a great career. It ends a little bit on a down note, a little bit more of a down note than some of the other stars that we've seen, where some of them have been able to go off on a win, or some of them maybe on a 1-fight losing streak. I think Rashad is going out on a 5-fight losing streak. He was pretty much overdue. Of the 5 fights, I think I remember seeing one where he actually competed and I thought bought himself that next fight. But the whole package itself, yeah, you're right. I mean, he early on when he was just hesitating to pull the trigger, would still come in shape and make weight. You could tell right then and there he wasn't going to be amongst the elite. And if you're not going to be amongst the elite, then are you just going to be that guy that kind of serves his time, cashes a big check, but also helps the organization out? Well, apparently so, but he wasn't doing it where they were placing it. Towards the end, they were burying him on Fight Pass and putting him on these prelims, you know, Mexico fight night. He wasn't even serving that purpose, but I guess they respected him and said, look, we'll keep paying you this pretty good money, but at some point I think even he gathered and noticed that it wasn't right and he shouldn't be out there. So
I thought at some point
on a great career though, man. A legend, Hall of Famer for sure. And yeah.
I thought at some point he'd end up in another organization before calling it quits, but Russ is right that I think the KO had a lot to do with it.
I saw an interesting conversation on Twitter comparing Rashad to Bisping, and more so, like, if you look at the path they took after their first fight, back at UFC, what was it, 78? And then you look at, like, you know, Bisping kind of the regional guy fighting contenders, whereas Rashad kind of rushed up to the big names and the championship titles early, where, you know, the roads they took to the title, where they ended up. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, those two. I don't know. I always thought that was kind of interesting looking back. And, yeah, I think that the retirement was long overdue. I think literally the last 3, maybe even 4 bookings straight of Rashad's, I just kind of cringed, like, because just sometimes you hate to say that, but, like, and there's not many fighters where I can confidently say it, but seeing Rashad those last couple times would just seem like a guy who just, you know, the whole saying, one day you have it, the other day, you know, it just time moves on, you know. And you hate to say that. I hate to say that, but you know, I think it was apparent, and good thing he you know, at least got to do it on his terms.
Father Time is undefeated.
That's right.
Why don't we do the daily debate right now, because it actually involves Rashad Evans and Michael Bisping. Here we go, guys. Which former UFC champion and Ultimate Fighter winner has had the best overall career? Here are your choices: Michael Bisping, Rashad Evans, Tony Ferguson, Forrest Griffin. I want to emphasize that they were all former tough champions of their season, and they were also a UFC champion at one point or another. Bisping, Evans, Ferguson, Griffin. Goes.
It's between Bisping and Rashad for me, and I ended up going with Rashad, and it's not as easy as Rashad beat Bisping. I looked at some of the things that they've done outside. They both coached on The Ultimate Fighter. They've both made it to the Fox desk at some point. They've done a lot of things, but if you look at the caliber of opponents that Rashad beat, he beat 2 generations of fighters, right? He has a victory over Chuck Liddell, who owned that division for a long time.
A prime
Liddell. He took him out. And then even further on in his career, he's got some pretty good ones against Dan Henderson, Phil Davis, Tito Ortiz, Quentin Jackson. Those are some pretty good names there. I went with Rashad, but by a hair.
Dan Tom?
You know, the guy's not going to get a lot of love as Tony Ferguson on this, and if not for the knee injury, he would still have this card stacked against him. He's in one of the deepest divisions to try to make a name for yourself. But you want to talk about killers for a run or an underrated run. Perhaps another day we can talk about Tony Ferguson. But I got to co-sign with Goes as far as Rashad Evans. As far as the story goes, you know, I love Michael Bisping's story. He was my fighter of the year, the same year that our own Mike Bond made him fighter of the year. I agreed, co-sign there. But I think Rashad Evans for the strength of schedule, the multi-divisions. You know, I think 3 total divisions he competed and won under championships under one, and an Ultimate Fighter title under another. And yeah, Rashad Evans for me.
Well, then it's complete. I'm also going with Rashad Evans. I do take into account that he beat Michael Bisping. I mean, that's an overall career, and that's part of his career. And I thought his wins at the top, at his peak, just were a little bit more impressive to me than when Michael Bisping's biggest wins were taking it from Rockhold out. You know, it was an upset according to the odds makers, but it was a solid punch with some follow ground and pound. A really, really tight decision out there for
Henderson.
For Henderson, you know, so those were the fights that revolved around his title reign, and then he lost the one to GSP and Gastelum, and all those other fights just kind of got lumped up in just a very solid career that had. He broke some records along the way. He was very durable, very marketable. But Rashad sold over 1 million pay-per-views one time. He at one point was a pay-per-view star, along with being a champion, and a champion who took out some of these legends in very devastating fashion. So that, along with the head-to-head, he also took out Forrest Griffin too. So I go with Rashad Evans, but surprisingly goes, and Dan Tom, Michael Bisping was a landslide winner in our poll. 2,234 votes came in. 66% of those went to Michael Bisping. In second place, Tony Ferguson, who I believe is 13-1 in the UFC, acquired the interim lightweight title, so he has won a belt. And so he's had an impressive record and gotten the title, but he was never. He's got time on his side, but he was never the undisputed champ, and he also doesn't have any title defenses. 16% for him, and then 10% for Rashad Evans, 8% for Forrest Griffin. It could be that this younger generation that's probably doing a lot of these votes, they just may not even remember Evans versus Liddell. That was 2008, if I'm not mistaken. So if they don't even remember it, then I thought Evans versus Ortiz was a huge fight, and that was just a draw. It was in Anaheim, California. I think it was UFC 61 or 63 or 59, one of those early ones. And a lot of people thought it was going to be Tito Ortiz all night because these guys were just coming off tough. Tough hadn't really validated itself, you know, as the place that you could really find a gem, and that gem would produce. But Rashad got a draw that night, and that started a little bit of his upswing. All right, there you have it. That's today's Daily Debate, brought to you by the MMA Junkie radio crew. Let's go back to some calls. Shout out to Argentina. They are up 1-0. Lionel Messi put the goal in about 3-4 minutes ago. I wanted to react to it, except that we were doing the Daily Debate. But Argentina's up 1-0. Let's go to Kevin in Chicago. What's up, Kevin?
What's up, guys? What I wanted to talk about was to hear people saying Colby Covington ain't a draw because the pay-per-view numbers didn't do too good. I just think this is a coming out party. I wasn't expecting him to be some massive pay-per-view draw on his first time headlining a big show like this, or co-main event. What do you think about that?
That's a good point. You know, Anderson Silva and a few of those guys, Anderson Silva wasn't really much of a draw until Chael Sonnen came along. So I understand exactly what you're saying. It takes a while to get up there, believe it or not. And as far as Colby Covington's concerned, I mean, he just acquired that belt. Now him and Tyron Woodley are going to have a fight, and I'm hoping that one does well.
Yeah, I think that's a big fight. I think that's going to be one of the biggest fights of the year, actually. Madison Square Garden. I think that's what they were saying.
Well, everybody seems to want to go there, but we still have a Vegas card to fill out. Hell, if you think about it, there's a UFC 227 card. Strike that. UFC 227 is in Staples Center on August 4th. UFC 226 is on July 6th in Vegas. There's a UFC 228 card that was announced by the UFC. We don't know the location, but we know it's September 8th. That needs to fill out, and then we need to get to Vegas, which has rumors of Conor versus Khabib. And then we get November NYC. Now, NYC's gotten some really, really nice cards the last 2 years. I don't think they're going to get 3 title fights this time, though.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
They may get that one, but I don't think they're going to get...
I just don't like 3 title fights on any card.
I think it's too much, yeah.
Me too.
What do you think about the fight with him and Woodley? I think it's a closer fight than people think. If Colby can avoid the right hand in the first round, I think it starts to become his fight. What do you think about that?
I think we saw what Colby is really like as a fighter in the last fight. I thought the Damian Maia fight wasn't really good representation. I think he could give Tyron some problems, but Tyron's a beast. He really is. So whatever Colby does that night, he can't sit around and let Tyron get into a groove.
Well, here's the other thing, too. Tyron says he's very difficult to take down, and he is. The stats prove it. However, I don't think Colby has to necessarily get him down. Colby's improved his striking, but Colby's work along the cage, he banks time, and he squeezes out 10-9s that way. Plus, he can drain the other guy's gas tank. Now, that said, let's not forget Tyron Woodley can hit as hard as anybody out there. Tyron Woodley has very, very, great leg kicks, and he also has the ability to stop even a clinch from against the fence. Using underhooks, footwork. So there's a lot to consider here. I think it's a winnable fight for Colby Covington. I don't know if he'll become world champion because it's that close. But we'll see. We'll see how this thing plays out. I also want to see how the mind games are going to affect Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley talks about this huge family that he has, and him and his friends, they used to jaw at each other. But what I've noticed is that Colby does get under his skin. So if he can shut that down and not let that be a part of the fight, then I think Tyron's chances definitely improve. But if he lets it, if he becomes emotional through all this, you never know, man. Colby seems to have a good grasp of the mental game, the physical game, and that could be the difference.
All right, man. Thanks for taking my call. Take it easy.
All right, see you, Kevin.
Easy.
Dan, what do you think of Covington versus Woodley?
I think you guys gave a really good layout there. Like you said, he doesn't need to wrestle. I think the Jake Shields blueprint works pretty well as far as just making fights ugly. Making a guy work. So many times, especially when you know it's in a guy's gearbox, or if you see certain matchups and you're just like, oh, if this guy gets him to make him work a little harder, we could see a different fight. And that is one thing Covington has going for him now. We see him run into shots, whether it's Damian Maia or otherwise, because of it. But he will make Woodley work for as long as the fight's going. So yeah, it's a question that Kevin says, can he avoid that big right hand? I'm more interested to see what the betting dynamic's going to be. I think that dynamic. I think whether you're a Woodley fan or a Covington fan, I think we all can agree on that dynamic, right? We can all come to the middle there. But I'm curious what the betting lines are going to say, because that's going to say a lot about the public, right? The public's going to shift those real fast.
So let me say this too. Covington after Maia, I didn't think could beat Woodley. Covington after RDA, I was like, whoa, his striking really, really did improve.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's a few years younger than Woodley as well. Woodley's would be coming off a serious injury. And again, Woodley, when you look at the record, and he'll be quick to remind you and say, what about Haran? What about Koscheck? He'll remind you about the fights where he skidded someone, but there's also the fights where he's so cerebral that I think he just freezes for a certain amount of seconds and minutes in a fight, looking for something that just may not be there. And I'm not saying that he's not pulling the trigger. I just think he's overthinking it, maybe a little bit too cautious, and I don't know if he'll be able to do that with Colby. Plus, Colby's going to push a pace, and I don't know if Tyron has that type of gas tank. It'll really, really be interesting to see how this all plays out. But Colby made some strides in between the Maia fight and the RDA fight. I thought RDA would have a decisive advantage on the feet, and that was not the case in Chicago. So the longer Colby doesn't have to fight and he can get better, the better for him, in my opinion, because when you're younger, man, you can just pick up all these different tools and become more of a G. But we'll see, man.
You're right. It is hardwired. It's something in Woodley is kind of hardwired as far as like the weighting goes, right? Like I don't know what to call it either. Like I'm excited because one of the differences of Woodley coming into it is he came out and said he's been having left shoulder problems, and if you look, there should be people like myself who breaking down his fighting. Everybody knows the same thing. He's kind of a one-sided fighter. He just throws that right hand, feints the left, but just throws that right hand. And now Woodley, when he explained the labrum issue, you're like, oh, that makes sense why he wasn't throwing it, why it was tighter. You go back and watch his footage, you're like, oh, that makes sense. So I'm excited because I'm going to see, we can get a full arsenal Woodley. Oh, can you imagine with his power? But then part of me goes back to what you said, George. There's something there that's hardwired him. It's going to come down to, yes, he can do it. Woodley can do almost probably anything, right? But can he do it? And can he put the output out there? Can he pull that proverbial trigger? And that's the big question here.
Yeah. How about the fact that Colby is undersized as a 70 guy? And I think we asked him if he could ever make 55, and he said he could.
He did?
Yeah.
I think I remember asking him 65. I could see
65 for sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he told me once that he could make 55. And I'm just wondering if he was serious and if he would, because he is an undersized 170 guy.
He doesn't cut a lot.
The Usmans, the Woodleys of the world, they'll all tell you, hey, he's smaller, you know. But if he could, I think, Dan, you told me at one time you're more impressed with Colby's pace / ground and pound / wrestling than Khabib's at times.
Not ground and pound, but wrestling. I'm more. I'm willing to say he's got better wrestling, and it's very similar in the way he uses his levers and the way he rides. So, you know, I would give a advantage as far as like on the ground grappling to Khabib as how he puts his riding with his striking, and also Khabib's got really underrated submissions. Khabib's got an underrated guard, right? So as far as that run with the grappling, I would side with Khabib. But as far as wrestling and getting to that spot, and controlling and doing everything you need to do to beat a high-level black belt like an RDA, for example, he's shown he can do it just as well. I think Dan from Oregon, who's always trumping the 165-pound division, he put it. I think it was in the chat yesterday in our YouTube chat. Shout out to you chatters in there today. You think he has like a top 5? Who would be a top 5 at 165 hypothetically? And I didn't put a top 5, but I immediately picked one welterweight and I immediately picked one lightweight who I feel I could say would end up being in that top 5, and that's Kevin Lee from the lightweight division and Colby Covington from the welterweight. You know, and I think 165 is kind of perfect for those two guys. You know, Kevin Lee is the bigger guy who can make 55. He can make the championship weight. He can get to the championship fight. Right, it's a little tough though. Whereas Covington, you guys just made the case. We've seen Covington in person, and we've seen him lined up to other welterweights, and you know he could probably make the 165.
Thiago Alves, I could see him going to 165.
Oh yeah, he probably could have used that one a little sooner.
Well,
but
he
he'd
tried
be perfect,
55
right?
one time, right?
Yeah, he looks so
I bet
small.
you Vic would
Didn't
probably
make
make 65 at some point. He's just not going to continue.
That's a
He's
great one.
6'3",
Yeah.
man. He's a pretty big dude. Felder's a pretty big dude
giant
as well.
55er. He's he looks bigger than welterweight teammates that he has, and he's
I mean, Dana White's got to know this, man. The matchmakers have to tell him this. That could be so exciting to open up 75 and 65. I mean, we would have a lot to talk about.
You think Dan from OR's ears are ringing right now with all this 165 talk?
Yeah. Did they score another goal, or was that the same one? Still 1-0, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a break. We got to take a break for the second hour. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Hear your favorite sports from a different perspective on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. VSiN gives you the view from the counter on the only channel broadcasting live from a Las Vegas sportsbook. Follow the money while you follow the games on SiriusXM, Channel 204. Odds are you'll like what you hear on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Is that Ralph's favorite band?
No.
Social Distortion?
I think, isn't that Green Day, Danny?
That was Green Day.
I always get it
Did
wrong.
kind of sound like them, though.
I would do terrible if you guys took me to some sort of a show that had to do with. Guess what music this is? Guess what?
Shazam thing.
Green Day has a very distinct sound, but in this song, I can see why it would mesh into Social Distortion or something like that, because it doesn't really sound like Green Day.
Because they're not covering.
This one would be, yeah, this one would be a tough one.
Yeah, they're covering the Clash, right?
Are they?
Covering the Clash, and the Clash covered the Crickets.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
Croatia versus Iceland, sorry. Not Germany and Sweden. Oh, okay. Marcel. Told you, Marcel's handy. Germany and Sweden. He had to send it over 2 emails. Oh, he's actually sent me 3 emails over this. Soccer's on. How's that? All right.
He gets emotional.
He does. You going straight to Dana White Contender Series, or are you chilling?
No, I'm starving. I'm going to grab something to eat.
You going home first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just realized that I have a haircut at 5, so I might have to catch up on the beginning again after.
Where do you get your hair
What's
did?
on your phone?
Huh?
Where do you get your hair did?
I may do that too. Kind of punish my guy. My guy's got his own studio, like up it's like a haircutting studio up at like Rainbow and 215ish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nick Diaz case proceeds in Las Vegas District Attorney's bail request denied. Stephen Morocco putting out another story. Now the other Diaz, that's Nick Diaz. Remember, he's got these allegations of I guess domestic violence, right?
Yeah.
Nate Diaz was allegedly in a brawl at another fight show. And now this happened at Combates a few months ago. That was the first incident. Apparently there was another incident. He was out there to support teammates, and I guess the allegations are he got into it with someone in the crowd.
He was there to support Nick's grappling team, right, from his gym. And there's video, right, I think on TMZ and stuff.
I didn't see the
He
video.
pops in and out of it, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that wasn't the only camera. I'm sure there had to have been another camera present.
But somebody else has a clip where they're like, "Winstar."
How do you think... I know the buttons can be easily pushed on the Diaz brothers. They ain't no bitch. But there's got to be a point where you get tired of having to see an attorney, pay an attorney, show up to court, whether they ask you to wear a tie or a suit, and just answer these questions that you just don't really want to be there. Like, they made a lot of money, and I think at some point you want to hold on to that money. The only thing I can think of is, and don't put it past the Diaz brothers, I'm pretty sure the Diaz brothers know that they're unique because of the way they are, and so it could be that they just need these little scuffles to kind of keep the Diaz name out there. You know what I mean?
Maybe, but can't you just get away with maybe shoving a guy or getting in someone's face? Like, does it really have to turn into a fight?
I don't know. But now he's got to... So, younger Diaz, Nate's got to deal with that, this alleged brawl at a fight show or submission grappling tournament, whatever. And then Nick Diaz has more serious allegations against him, that's for sure. He's accused of 1 count of battery constituting domestic violence by strangulation, a felony punishable by 1 to 5 years in prison. I mean, he doesn't need all that, you know. Obviously, if he did hurt the young lady, then what's coming to him is coming to him. But if it's a case where this will get settled and maybe she exaggerated or she lied or who knows what, I don't know. To me, all this seems preventable. Luckily, I've never been in these toxic relationships. You just have to choose carefully. And I know bitches be tripping.
You got to learn to just walk away
you know?
sometimes.
There's some crazy women out there, man. I just heard about something too. Somebody was telling me a story. I think it was Boyd at my nephew's graduation, where the girl had. Oh, I know what it was. It was with my guys out there in Tustin. Somebody had recently just gone through a divorce, and apparently, at least the girl was upfront about it and said, I'm a crazy bitch, you know, blah, blah, blah. But what she did was she had found past, like, pics and things from a previous relationship. And, I mean, like, I think put it, like, in a pile and burned it or ripped it up. Like, that just seems crazy, you know what I mean? To be involved in something like that.
But what do you do? She put a disclaimer out there. There's not much you can do.
She did, huh? She goes, that's the way I roll, man. I'm a crazy bitch, yeah. So, I don't know, man. Again, if this is proven, then obviously he's got to pay the price for this. As far as Nate, I think Nate's definitely, whatever happened out there probably was avoidable. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't he shove Clay Guida to start the other one? So
in the back, no less, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah. Is he trying to match Connor?
No.
For what Connor did in Brooklyn, or are these separate?
I think it's separate. I don't think he thinks that way.
Who knows?
With Connor, that's what made it so nasty. Was there was a lot of planning for that to happen. With Nate, it's just kind of like a hothead. Like anything can set him off.
I want to revisit another thing, another topic. GOAT talk. Give me your top 3 right now.
GSP.
Yeah.
It's so hard because if you have the one stance on John Jones, then you just have to wipe him out, right?
Completely?
Yeah. But how do you not have him in there? Demetrius Johnson.
Those 3? But GSP's number 1?
Yeah.
Dan, Tom?
That's tough, man. I'm going to leave John Jones out, but so it doesn't look personal, I'm also going to leave Anderson out. If you get what I'm saying. Different, but you get what I'm saying, right? So in that case, you can't deny GSP being at the top of that list. And again, because my greatest of all time serves for so much more than just a perfect exemplary record. Right? Life is far from a perfect beauty of roses, and I judge beauty in a different way, whether we're talking about sports or whatever, what have you. And guys like Randy Couture or BJ Penn will always have a special place in my heart. The real fighters, and definitely a dying breed when you look at what's going on today.
Did you give me a name?
You said three greatest of all times, right?
BJ was your last one, right?
Okay. All right, BJ Penn.
Yeah, Penn, Couture, and GSP are like the 3 guys. That's like my Mount Rushmore of goats, even though that's only 3.
DC, if he beats Miocic, is he in anybody's conversation?
He's in mine.
I'm getting dismissed when I bring it up.
He's in mine.
Dan, Tom?
He should be, but Fedor is the next in my queue. If I had to go 4 to the 3 I gave you.
Is this about the beauty thing?
that was a bad word. Hopefully people don't get hung up on that. But it was just more about it was a body of work. I should say. I'm a body of work guy.
Okay. Man, I DC's got to get past Miocic for this to happen. But if he does, I'm going to argue he's the greatest of all time.
Well, if Miocic can keep winning, too, that's the thing that would strengthen his case.
True.
And if Daniel can defend that title, then I think that will probably bring a lot of people over to that side as well.
Like, you know who's one guy I'm an admirer of big time is Dan Henderson and the career he had, because he tested himself against so many people outside of his weight class. But he also suffered his fair share of losses.
Everywhere, too.
He may have reached double digits, 10 or something. But it didn't matter. Whether it was 10 or 5, it didn't matter. Once you lose those first couple, it's like, all right, but you still remember some of the great things that he did. That's why I'm not too hung up on Fedor, and I think he has 4 overall, 3 legit, and the 1 to TK, where they had to pick a winner to advance.
Yeah.
Rings, I believe. Anderson Silva, I don't hold those first 4 too much against them. 1 was the fucking upkick by Okami. You do have to give credit to Chonin for that.
Heel hooked him.
Yeah, exactly. So you do have to give credit for that, and then I don't know what happened in some of the early ones.
He almost gave up.
What do you mean? The career?
Yeah, he didn't want to fight. He got talked out of it.
Penn, there's a few at the end of his career where I don't know. His age, you couldn't go, well, he's 40. I mean, he was a little younger.
He should have had the Frankie one.
He just never really have that motivation. Excuse me.
He should have had the Frankie one go his way.
One of them.
Huge.
I thought the first one was really big and I thought I called it for GSP, but they called it for Frankie. The second one, Frankie got him. You would agree that, right?
Yeah. What's the
In
GSP?
Boston. Sorry, the first one, I thought BJ Penn beat Frankie in Abu Dhabi.
In Abu Dhabi.
The second one in Boston, Frankie got him. Yeah. The third one.
People thought he beat GSP the first time. Could you imagine if those two fights, he could have gotten smashed in the rematches like he did to Edgar and GSP. But imagine if those decisions both went his way, how much different that career could have been. But then again, it would have made a difference because the lesson for BJ's career was the what could have been guy. He's kind of
and that's the thing is Cormier hasn't given you that feeling of, well, what if he had? Can you imagine if he had? He has.
He went down to 205.
Done it all with the exception of the Jones wins. If Jones doesn't have those two incidents come up, one at UFC 200 and then the recent one, Turinabol was one and clomidopine, I forget what the other one was. It's this unnecessary doubt. And I'm not out there leading the charge saying he cheats or nothing like that. I think even USADA on the first one said, we don't believe he intended to cheat. Okay, I'm good with that explanation. But then it happened a second time, and even Daniel Cormier said he's probably going to pop, and I didn't want to believe it. So it casts that little bit of shred of doubt. Like, what if that is what put him over in the Alexander Gustafsson fight? Anything that allowed him to have, better wind in the fourth or fifth rounds. I hate that he puts me in that position to think that because it would be such a slam dunk. He just never lost.
Celebrating that,
right? The Hamill thing, I do agree with. What came down was called correctly. I don't think that should even exist. That's a whole other thing. But I don't really count it as a performance type of loss. Therefore, he would be my GOAT. But instead, he leaves me the shred of doubt that you just have to wonder. Now, that said, there's one win that's on the record books against Daniel Cormier, and the other one's a no contest. So let's study this. If Cormier can beat Miocic, even though he didn't beat Jones head up, I still think it's an amazing accomplishment. Because I would also argue that Miocic is probably the greatest heavyweight of all time. So to beat that guy, along with Rumble twice, Gustafsson, to be undefeated as a heavyweight, to only have the one loss to Jones, to have never given the media or his fans any doubt that he was ever enhanced in any fight, that's pretty amazing. That's a pretty amazing career. In my eyes.
Another guy
title defenses
that's come up as the GOAT, right? And then Anderson Silva, even though it was
different
circumstances,
right.
but he still beat him.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's there's things there that I like, He never GSP, one thing I didn't like was he got caught by Matt Serra, and like I said the other day, DJ got caught by.
He did erase it though.
He lost
as well as he possibly could.
He could.
Probably,
he did.
right?
He did. He erased it.
Nobody said, "Well, let's see a third one." Like we knew.
Right. And then the other one was Hughes, which he wound up beating him 2 more times, thereby winning his trilogy. But see, you know how Hughes caught him? Like, DC was never caught. Other than when he got to the very end by Jones, he was caught by another all-time great. And not to say Hughes is an all-time great. He's an all-time great welterweight, but I don't think he's like a top 10 of all-time welterweight. All right, great. Let's take a break, and that way we can cruise to the finish line. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Up, up, down, down, left, right, B-A, start. You told me that code would get rid of them. Yeah, well, they're still here. Okay, but now they know I tried to kill them. Hold on, Mom. Here are George and Goes.
Talk to Showtime from Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's yo time.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, what's up,
Not
Showtime?
much, player.
What up? Hey, man, I had to call in and laugh, man. When you guys were talking about the WWE little channel or whatever, little app,
$9 and they get it all.
They could give me that for free and I wouldn't watch it, man. I'm not into fake wrestling, man. I just not into that shit.
Ever in your life?
Yeah, when I was a little boy, me and my grandmother, she loved it. She used to like the Junkyard Dog and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That's when I watched it, but man, I was a little kid eating boogers back then, man. I ain't really into that now.
Hey, Showtime. Do you remember Kamala?
Yeah.
All right, how much would it cost
Yeah, I remember
for
Kamala.
me if I paid you to go to the Bacchanal buffet dressed as Kamala? Would you do it? For how much?
The price right. The price got to be right, though.
What's your price?
You and Buffalo Blue, and Buffalo Blue has got to be Andre the Giant in the singlet. Will you guys both walk up to the buffet like that?
Yeah, if the price right. I'm about money, man. I don't care about all that other shit. I'm about money.
Do it for
price
$500?
is right, I'll do it. Huh?
$500? Will you do it?
You got to get Blue. Blue got to be in on it too. That's the only way I do it.
Well, yeah, fool. We ain't gonna
Blue
volunteer
gotta
this
have
time
it.
as Andre the Giant.
Blue got to have those little drawers on like Andre the Giant used to have on those.
Look, I can only take so much of pro wrestling as well. There is a component to it that I do enjoy, but not enough for me to consistently watch it on Mondays and Tuesdays and get the pay-per-views. But that aside, I still think $9.99 is incredibly fair. I think it's a good deal because if I'm a guy that's only going to catch, if I just catch WrestleMania, I got my money's worth, right? Think about it.
I'll be honest with you guys. I hate streaming. I cannot stand it. There's too many things that can go wrong, and I don't like being on the same. I want to be on the same wavelength as everybody else. I hate if your phone's on and somebody's a couple seconds ahead of you and you miss something or you find something out. I hate that. I can't stand streaming. That's why I don't do those type of things. I don't like them. If I have to, Fight Pass, I'll do it, but I cannot stand every second of it.
I'd rather have television too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, that $9.99 is just I don't know. I've had this revelation here, and I don't know why I didn't have it earlier. That maybe that's why WWE is just blowing up. It's affected my personal career in many ways, and in some I can't share, and some I can. But just like I said, the buzz that it's been generating lately and bringing some people back, a lot of it could be just because it's like, hey man, it don't take much, you know.
It's true.
Come in, have some fun. Just you want a little bit of crack? We don't need much.
Oh, that's what they're offering.
It's just $10 at the door, and you get to come in, and there's a keg back there and strippers, and we'll have some fun or whatever. The UFC's are like a little bit more. The UFC's like, all right, man. So listen, it's this much to get in the door, and you have to commit to these bottles, and if you want additional chairs. Or if you want the DJ to play a special song, you got to tip him. And the maitre d', it's like, oh man, like this is an expensive night out.
But we got 10s back here, and none of them are fake.
Yeah, that's
true.
What
they're saying.
That's true.
Wait, what are we talking about?
We're talking about WWE and $65.99. Look, WWE is $120. It's the same as 2 UFCs. You get everything in the WWE for $120. Yet for MMA, you got to shell out two pay-per-views, and you're already at the same as WWE.
Hey.
Some don't seem right there, right?
Hey guys, well check this out. A guy like me, I normally buy the cars and watch them by myself most of the time when I'm at home. But if I got a wager on something, I want to watch it, and I really just don't like betting on something and not.
So
to watch it.
The question is. The question is Dana White aware that there's that many showtimes out there that can keep him in business? Along with Fight Pass, along with ESPN Plus, along with international TV content. Are there enough showtimes out there that'll even by themselves pay the $65? No problem. That's the question. And if there isn't, then we could have a problem.
I don't think there are.
Bellator just put a little bit of a tight squeeze. I don't care if it's a 10-year contract, 5-year contract. The fact that over the course of some time they'll be getting at least $100 million. All right, you know. PFL, what kind of capital they have? Well, will they have great ratings that they can get another second season? I saw some decent names over at PFL. Ben Folks did a great story about how PFL may have been more interesting than UFC Singapore.
Yeah.
And he was probably right.
I agree.
Showtime, we got to move on, man. Thanks for the call. All right. I think we just need to bounce out of here on time for today. So I want to thank our guest, Rob Font. Tomorrow, we will be joined by the following. Emil Meek will return to the studio. And that's it for now. Yeah, that's it. That's the only one that's been solidified. So we're going with Emil Meek in studio tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun. We'll also be talking to Ryan Couture on Friday. He wants Junkie Karma. Robert Watley from the PFL took us to 61-14. Couture wants to take us to 62-14. He faces Syed Awad at Bellator 201. Also, Brad Tavares and Michael Chiesa will be in studio with us on Friday. Angela Lee, the biggest name at One Championship, will be in studio with us on Monday. Jade Bryce, former Bellator ring card girl, a current Phoenix girl for Invicta, she'll be in studio on Tuesday. And next Friday, Dan Henderson visits the studio. All right, we got to get out of here. For the guys, I'm George. Go out there and be a champion.